Okay. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastai Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste. Saraswati Devi Gauravadi Vachalane Nivasesha Sunyavadi Pashtatara Satharine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so I looked up the last vid we did, and unless I'm mistaken, we are on text 205. Any challenges on that? Have I got this correct?
Or, because it's a long one, we didn't finish it.
The purple. Well done. Because you passed the test. Because I did see that. It's so difficult hearing myself again.
Page 403, and it's a complete detachment.
Okay, I'm trying to find it.
No, it's just the slok before.
Got it. I've got it.
Verse before. We could actually start from the beginning.
Start from the
We
beginning.
didn't do last week because we were in.
Okay.
Well,
Let's do
before,
that. No
because
problem.
we were in the class, remember?
Yeah. Janananda Maharaj's club. Okay, so someone like to read?
I can. Shall I start from the beginning of 204?
Yeah, that's what we decided.
That goal cannot be achieved by one who cares for knowledge, renunciation, or material success. It is only for one who, by Sri Krishna's mercy, depends on Krishna's devotional service and nothing else. Commentary. To further clarify how to achieve pure devotional service, in this verse, the Bhakti Shastra says that devotees of the Lord are uninterested in karma, jnana, vairagya, and other methods of advancement. Karma here means acting according to one's prescribed duty. Jnana means understanding the difference between spirit and matter, atma and anatma. And vairagya means aloofness from the sense gratification and other material attractions. A person who relies on karma, jnana, vairagya, or any other such method cannot achieve bhakti, because bhakti is achieved only by Krishna's mercy. But then, since Sri Krishna is naturally compassionate to every soul, why doesn't everyone obtain pure devotional service? The Bhakti Shastra answer that the special mercy of devotional service acts only when a candidate has no interest in karma, jnana, or anything other than bhakti. Only such a person will be receptive to Krishna's special mercy. As Lord Brahma says in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 14, and 8, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him and all the while patiently suffers the reactions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances with his body, words, and heart, is surely eligible for the liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. In this verse, the phrase Mukti Pade, which tells the goal for which one is eligible, should be correctly understood. The phrase can be explained in several ways. In one sense, it indicates the place Pad, where the highest ecstasy is manifest, namely Sri Vaikuntha. In another sense, Pad means fruit. So Mukti Pad means the ultimate fruit of liberation. In other words, pure devotional service. In yet another sense, Pad means feet. So Mukti Pad means that which has liberation at its feet. Again, the path of devotional service, because bhakti conquers and subjugates mukti. And in still another sense, according to an established convention, the idea of mukti, cessation of material existence, should be understood to refer directly to bhakti itself. Following this last meaning, the word aparvaga, synonymous with mukti, is used as follows in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam 5:19, 19 and 20. One may also achieve aparvaga after many, many births when the result of one's pious activities matured. One gets an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. Then one is able to cut the knot of bondage to ignorance, which bound him because of the varied fruitive activities. As a result of associating with devotees, one gradually renders service to Lord Vasudeva, who is transcendental, free from attachment to the material world, beyond the mind and words, and independent of everything else. That devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, Bhakti Yoga, is the real path of liberation. Lord Vasudeva is anatmaya, devoid of the attachment and other faults that arise in the conditioned self. He is also anirukta, beyond the scope of words, and anilayanan, independent of any other shelter. Pure devotion for him without ulterior motives is true mukti. The Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 20 and 35. Lord Krishna confirms in his own words that renunciation of material motives is a prerequisite for bhakti. Complete detachment, it is said, is the highest stage of liberation. Therefore, one who is detached and does not pursue personal rewards can achieve loving devotional service unto me. Here, Krishna indicates that the highest goal or the only real goal of life is indifference to sense gratification and everything else material. Or to put it in another way, the highest good can be achieved by the person who becomes indifferent to material things. That highest good is called liberation. But a person who is completely detached is indifferent even to liberation, and the means of achieving it, knowledge, detachment, and so on. Therefore, such a person can achieve pure devotional service to Krishna. In Sri Vishnu Purana, Aurva Rishi tells King Sagar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashram. There is no other way to satisfy the Lord. One who adheres to this Varnashram Dharma does not cease from all activities, thinking his life's work complete. Yet he does nothing else, nanyat, than worship Lord Vishnu. This statement from the Vishnu Purana clearly implies that worship of Lord Vishnu is a summit of all Varnashram duties. Other than worship of Lord Vishnu, no path, pantha, neither karma or jnana, nor any other process is a cause of the Lord's satisfaction. Tat tosha karanam. These other methods have no independent power to satisfy Lord Vishnu. Therefore, unless they are engaged in the service of bhakti, they are useless. Nevertheless, the Lord enjoins that Varnashram duties should not be given up. The Shruti and Smriti comprise my orders. If someone violates these scriptures, he breaks my commands and thus becomes my opponent. Even if he professes to be my devotee, he is not a Vaishnava. The Lord says this because performing Varnashram duties can help one progress towards the path of devotional service. At least in the lower stages of spiritual development, one should not abandon one's prescribed duties. The duty of Varnashram must be maintained, especially by persons who are on the pravrutti marga, the path of material development, and who lack faith in the transcendental process of bhakti.
Okay, perhaps let's just pause there. Let me just scroll forward and see how many pages left in this purple. Wow, a few, there's 3 or 4 pages left. Let's go back here. Yeah, any specific comments or questions here?
Well, the Varnashram life is glorified here. People should go through the stages, the proper 4 stages.
Yes, and it plays a very important role. I was just looking at one verse today that I've just began to learn. It describes that unless one has a taste for Shravanam Kirtanam, then one should not give up one's duties according to Varna and Ashram. So it creates a stable social environment where one can be exposed to bhakti. Otherwise, we have a society like we have now, which is completely practically devoid of any piety, practically, and it's taking people down. Yeah, it's taking people to a hellish birth. Where at least the system of Varna and Ashram, especially if it's Devi Varnashram, yeah, it situates people in their correct constitutional position, and on that it can satisfy their desires. Material desires can never be satisfied in one sense, but it has the added addition of worship of Vishnu. Yeah, and within that system, they can fulfill their desires, and develop eventually, because they fill the desires in a religious way by worship of Vishnu, then that will bring them to Jnana. Yeah, Karma, then Jnana, where they start to have wisdom and start to become wise and consider there must be more to life than just the family or just the material. There must be more to life in regards to the soul. So here it shouldn't be rejected. But for persons who are 7% Krishna conscious, they are not dependent upon Varnashram, but they will act according to Varnashram in order to set the example. So also previously was mentioned Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, and you could say there's no comparison to Bhakti, but Karma Yoga means Bhakti, so your karma should be linked somehow to Krishna. So it should be progressive. It should be progressive till you come to the stage of pure bhakti. That's like, I don't know if, excuse my speaking, I actually can't breathe through my nose. I'm full of. That's why I don't know if anyone heard the class the other day given by dear Odatta Prabhu. Dear Odatta. It was quite a challenging question at the end of the class. Excuse me, I'm gonna. Oh, that's it. Can breathe a little bit. Because in the class, I think he phrased it a bit wrong. He said Karma Yoga is dangerous. And one devotee saw that as a condemnation of Karma Yoga. But he didn't understand the context that he was giving it in. The context was it should be progressive. We shouldn't just stay satisfied with our material duties. Yeah, we should come to the stage of pure devotional service. So anyway, so like that. Any other questions or comments here? It's quite technical, this part.
Yeah. So basically, Prabhu saying it is the process, but it's not the goal. So Varnashrama is not our goal, but that will help us to go towards bhakti.
Yeah, I mean, it's not our goal, but considering the background that we come from, that's why Prabhupada saw it as being needed.
Yeah.
Because devotees were falling away from the regulative principles. So therefore he saw it's important that they should be situated in a natural social and environment, excuse me.
Yeah.
But it's not the goal.
No.
But it's needed from a global perspective if we're going to bring societies to
Yeah.
piety where they can take up bhakti, then it's needed. That's why in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ramananda Roy glorifies it. Ramananda Roy quoted this verse which we just heard.
Yeah.
This one here.
Mm.
But Lord Chaitanya said no, go on more, and he brought him to pure devotion.
Yeah. And also, Prabhu, I was just thinking sometimes, like we want to do something when you're doing service, we like to do something. So that is good. But high level is we should do what Lord wants. So that is our goal. Is that right, Prabhu?
Say that again. The first point.
Like when we are doing services, oh, I like to do this for Lord. I like to do this for Lord. Everybody wants to do some things, our inclination, our inspiration, that way. But that is not good enough. We have to do what Lord wants. Like, okay, is that the way that we can look at it? Even the Varnashrama, that you go through that, but at the end is different in this bhakti. Can we think like that, Prabhu?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're engaged according to the direction of the spiritual master.
Yeah, correct.
And
these are only dovetailing process, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Generally, the spiritual master will engage the disciple according to their psychophysical and according to their particular nature from a general perspective. But considering the emergency of the day, Kali Yuga, and how degraded it is, then the spiritual master may engage everyone in preaching activities. Or it may, as we know, we have spiritual masters who are emphasizing they have farm communities, etc. But that's quite a high platform to be ready and willing to do anything for Krishna. And some devotees do that. They they get, they've been told to do a certain service, but it's not many can actually do it for a lifetime. Eventually, they have to be situated naturally. Like, for instance, excuse me, many people come and they join the ashram as brahmacharis, and they do the mission. They just distribute books, and they just do that. But most of them will not continue that for a lifetime. They will have to be situated, either get married, etc., to be more naturally situated. And from that situation, they will practice bhakti. But there are some who will, there are some. There may be brahmanas, more brahminically inclined. It's a big subject. Sorry, I kept cutting you off.
No, oh my God, I forgot that also. Sorry.
Okay. All right, let's try and finish this purport, because we do want to finish it, because we didn't finish it last time. So let's just complete the purport. You can continue reading. You read very nicely, like others as well. So let's just finish it, and you can note down points we want to discuss or clarify. Okay, carry on.
The Supreme Lord makes statements like this to encourage people to adhere strictly to their prescribed religious duties. However, many other statements throughout the revealed scriptures also say that the scope of obligatory material duties is limited. Such duties, limited also in their benefits, may be ignored without harm when they conflict with more important spiritual responsibilities. Thus, devotees dedicated to the path of bhakti are not considered fallen if they fail to carry out some of their karmic commitments, as declared by the personality of Godhead in Sri Padma Purana. If persons doing my work fail to execute some other karmic duties, 30 million exalted sages carry out those commitments on their behalf.
Wow, that's nice, isn't it? 30 million exalted sages take taken care.
to do it. Oh.
Yes. Go on.
Similarly, in the same Puran, Devadyuti praise persons who know this pure supreme cease performing the duties enjoining by the Srutis, lose all ambitions, and become friends to the whole world. To him I bow down. If devotees abandon their karmic duties merely by learning theoretically about the Supreme Lord, what then of those who take full shelter of him and engage in his personal service? Thus, Lord Krishna says in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11:20, number 9, as long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for the methods of devotional service, such as hearing topics about me, one has to act according to the regulative principles.
Yeah, that's the verse I was just quoting. That's the verse I was trying to learn today. So, carry on.
Vedic instructions. This implies that one who does develop a taste of devotional service is no longer bound to the Vedic regulations for mundane karmic life, as expressed here by the emphatic word va. Devotees attracted to hearing and chanting about the Supreme Lord are not interested in anything else. The Mahatmas are equipoised. They see no difference between one living entity and another. They are very peaceful, fully engaged in devotional service, devoid of anger, and friendly to all. They do not behave in any abominable way. Concerned only with the reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing their love of Godhead, they do not like to do anything unrelated to Krishna. They are not interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their bodies, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They are not attached to their homes, although they may be householders, nor are they attached to the wives, children, friend, or wealth. Yet they are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. Such people collect only enough money to keep the body and soul together. Bhagavatam 5 chapters 2 and 3 text. Vaishnavas are free from the good and bad karmic reactions to obeying or violating the Vedic injunctions. Material piety and sin, which arise from the good and evil of this world, cannot exist within my unalloyed devotees. Such devotees, free from material hankering, maintain steady spiritual consciousness in all circumstances, for they have achieved me, the Supreme Lord, who am beyond anything that can be conceived by material intelligence. Bhagavatam 11:20-36. In the Padma Purana, Uttar 71.100, Lord Shiva has summed up the essence of all Vedic duties in those famous words. Lord Vishnu should always be remembered and never forgotten. All junctions and prohibitions are servants of these two rules. When one remembers Lord Vishnu, one has fulfilled all Vedic injunctions, because remembering him awakens all auspiciousness. And when one forgets him, one has violated all prohibitions, because all sins are born from the forgetfulness. Thus, rather than strive for anything else, everyone should endeavor to follow these two rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments here? Excuse me. Just goes to show how exalted. If you can put your mute on, Mama Chana. Just goes to show how exalted are the devotees. That although everyone is completely bound, it's described also in the 6th canto, when the Yamadutas are discussing with the Vishnu Dutas, that everyone is bound to follow the injunctions of the Vedas, just like a ball is controlled with like a rope through its nose. Okay, so we may say that, okay, so people today, they've never even heard of the Vedas. What do you mean they're bound to follow the Vedas? Prabhupada, in one place, he says you can tell the you can tell the authority of the Vedic injunctions by observing the basic paraphrasing, by observing the state of people who do not follow the Vedic injunctions. In other words, it's a complete mess, a complete psychological, sociological, complete mess, where people become just like animals. They become exactly like animals. So that's the result of not following the Vedic injunctions. Otherwise, everyone's bound. But the devotees are not. They're completely free. It is said here that if you, was it 30, how many million people there? Let's go back to that verse. 30 million sages are ready to cover if you fail to do some particular karmic duty, or you fail in some way, which there's bound to be, you know. But if one is a 100% devotee of the Lord, one is so dear to the Lord that the Lord there is no reaction as for an ordinary person. It doesn't mean devotees take advantage of that and act in irreligious ways. No. They will spontaneously act in religious ways. Just by their purity of heart, they will act dharmically. So, devotees here, devoted, very exalted, more exalted than the most advanced so-called yogis. Even the demigods, as we know, they worship devotees. Of course, we're trying to be devotees. I don't think the demigods are worshipping us. We are apprentices, you know. But I don't know, even on the path of bhakti, one is glorious. But anyway, any comments on this?
Does it
Prabhu.
mean?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I just-
Sorry.
Yes, please.
Does this mean that 30 million sages will work if an innocent or a devotee is innocent and there's so many people to mess the person about? There's 30 million sages who are there to give her the protection.
Yeah. Do you know, there's something I read recently. My Guru Maharaj mentioned this, and I was looking into it a bit. Jiva Goswami mentions it in the Krishna Sandarbha, excuse me, that sometimes in scripture there is exaggerations. So we might say this might be an enthusiastic exaggeration to try to actually comprehend and understand it. Let's just take it on faith, but it might be also an enthusiastic exaggeration, trying to bring the point home that if person's doing my work, that means my devotional service failed to execute some karmic duty. Then 30 million exalted sages carry on. Yeah, sorry, was that the question, Baba? Just, I think you're like, yeah, we're trying to understand it. Also, Krishna says, if one is surrendered unto me, then you have known Shavadamam Prachatya. If being engaged in bhakti, then you do not fulfill specific material duty, then there is no reaction. Or even if you accidentally commit a sinful act, because devotees are very dear to the Lord, there is no reaction as with an ordinary, we could say, person who is not Krishna's devotee or not Krishna's bhakta. So how glorious are the devotees of the Lord? Yeah.
For that, we have to become a devotee first, not just we are trying to be devotees.
Yes.
We should be on
Yeah.
that level.
Yeah, well, trying, that means that's a sign of sin. That's a sign of sincerity that we're trying. And we're endeavoring to be a devotee like, we are endeavoring to be a devotee like the residents of Vrindavan, but we're not quite there yet. But we're endeavoring to be. And that is glorious. That is glorious. Just trying to be devotee gives Lord Chaitanya great ecstasy, and Lord Nityananda. That they don't consider any offenses from such persons, because they're so ecstatic that this person who was born in a family not of dog eaters, of cow eaters, which is lower. Lower than dog eaters is cow eaters. Now they're dancing in front of me with their arms raised. So if there's some overstepping of vidhi, then no problem. Yes. So someone else was there, Nitai Mata, was you saying something here? No.
Krishna Prabhu, I was also asking the same question. Mother said we can't be just trying, so we have to come to that level. So otherwise, Lord is not going to be forgiven for everything.
Yeah, but we've got to start somewhere. So starting means we should try our best. Yeah, we've got to try. Of course, it's not gonna. It's not as if we're queuing up in Sainsbury's and Krishna Prema is going to hit us on the head. We have to endeavor. We have to, as we know, we've been reading Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? We control our senses. We actively control our senses. We engage the senses in Krishna's service, even though the inclinations to other ways may be there. We endeavor, we chant, we chant the holy name. We follow the instructions of the spiritual master, and we try to preach Krishna consciousness, in whatever way we can, to serve Krishna. Yeah.
I would.
Yes.
Yeah. We still tend to upset.
You're muted.
When you don't intend to.
You're muted.
That unless, even when you don't want to, so then you already got suffering in this life. So you got to come back to.
Can you say the first part again? Because I missed it.
Not realizing that we should not upset any devotee. We end up upsetting them one way or the other. And you kind of.
Yeah, there's this. It very much depends on if it's a deliberate thing, if it's vindictive and it's done out of envy, where you deliberately out of envy upset a devotee, then there's an offense. Although having said that, we're thinking of the example of Rupa Goswami, that example. But if we're but then there may be some unknowingly, sometimes just by dint of where we're, our Pacific service, but it's not like we're being vindictive or not being envious. So what can we do? Sometimes, I remember when I was head pujari, and I must have upset so many people just because I wouldn't let them take Mahabhashadam.
Oh, yeah.
So what can you do? Because I stopped there, I used to control the Mahabhashad. So that a guest could get Mahabhashad, but some devotees would become upset because sometimes I would have a raid and I would bust the place and find out where all the Maha was stashed in the pujari. So don't worry too much about that. Krishna's got it. Krishna's got you covered for that. Krishna's got you covered.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's read on text 205. Anyone like to read? Best that I not read because I
Shall I read?
Yes, please, Mama.
Yes, please, Mama. Have you got hay fever?
Yes, I got it yesterday. I always get it when I'm going to stop going swimming. Every time I go swimming, I get hay fever. So anyway, Hare Krishna. So go ahead, Mama, on the pump.
Yeah, sorry, I just put my light on. Sorry. 205. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Ritual duties distract one from devotional service. Renunciation dries up one's transcendental taste for her, and knowledge can do her harm. But these three, when purified, faithfully serve her. Commentary. Serious Vaishnavas should give up whatever does not serve the purpose of pure devotional service. The Karmakand injunctions of the Vedas obscure the path of devotion with hundreds of obligatory rituals, and practicing detachment from all worldly things dries up the attractive taste of devotional practice. The indifference recommended in devotional service, however, is distinct from the renunciation undertaken by impersonalists, because devotional renunciation selectively rejects only those things that cannot be used in the Lord's service. This is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.42. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things. These three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The pursuit of knowledge weakens bhakti, because realizing such truths as the divine nature of the self gives one a feeling of self-satisfaction that was the strong urge needed to enter the Supreme Lord's service. Thus, the Transcendental Lord has said in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:20-31-33. And so for a devotee engaged in my loving service, with mind fixed on me, the cultivation of knowledge and renunciation is generally not the means of achieving the highest perfection within this world. Whatever can be achieved by fruitive activities, or penance, or knowledge, or detachment, mystic yoga, charity, religious duties, or other means of perfecting life, all this my devotee easily achieves through loving service unto me. If somehow my devotee desires promotion to heaven, or liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily achieves such blessings. In the first of these verses from the 11th canto, the word praya, for the most part, indicates that duties, knowledge, and detachment may sometimes help to some extent. Thus, the Bhakti Shastras here state that Karma, Jnana, and Vairagya may be useful if subordinate to the purpose of Bhakti. Purified of their faults, they can serve devotional service, especially as initial aids to devotional practice. As stated in the Yoga Vaishishta Ramayana, devotion to Krishna arises in persons whose sinful reactions have been diminished by austerities, charity, and meditation, performed in thousands of consecutive births. When karma, vairagya, and jnana are suitably purified, they can each assist in preparing a spiritual aspirant for the practice of bhakti. Thus, karma purified of desire for the fruits of endeavor become work done only for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Vairagya, developed to the stage of indifference to liberation, becomes a stimulant for the eagerness to serve the Lord, and jnana, freed from the conception of total oneness, becomes transformed into contemplation of oneself as belonging to the Lord, and also meditation on the glories of devotional service.
Okay. Any questions or comments here? Very interesting. So we're into, well, let's see these words. We're into knowledge. Otherwise, why do we study Bhagavatam? Nasta Preshu Bhatreshu. We go to Bhagavatam and we study Prabhupada's books. So Gyan, in one sense, you could say it's Gyan, but it's we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and we are studying as a consequence of bhakti. You understand? It's as a consequence of bhakti, we are developing divya gyan. Yeah, we are not just developing knowledge for knowledge's sake. That's the gyani. Yeah, they just develop knowledge for knowledge's sake, and generally, their conclusion, for the most part, if they're studying the absolute, is an impersonal one. So it comes as a consequence. Yeah. And detachment from, here. That's why Bhagavatamrta Purana does quote in this nice verse from the 11th canto here. I'm just highlighting it here. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things. These occur simultaneously for one who's taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why I found this interesting here. What was it? Yeah, here. Where was it? The pursuit of knowledge weakens bhakti. Yeah, the pursuit of knowledge weakens bhakti, because realizing such truths as the divine nature of the self gives one the feeling of self-satisfaction that quells the strong urge needed to enter the Supreme Lord's service. So that's the pursuit of Gyan. Yeah, so an accomplished Gyani who's very knowledgeable will generally not be so inclined to wash the Lord's pots or to engage in some service of the Lord. It can give rise to a lot of pride as well. But devotees are very knowledgeable. It doesn't mean devotees are not knowledgeable, but it's as a consequence of the activities of bhakti that they become knowledgeable. Yeah, and Krishna gives them knowledge from within. He doesn't just he gives them realized knowledge. Gyani dipena bhashrataha. So we're into detachment as well. And we speak about detachment, isn't it? And we do penances. But our detachment comes as a consequence of relishing bhakti. Yeah. So we would rather, we are detached. We would rather than watch the World Cup, we would rather go to a kirtan. We are detached from worldly from the world. Why? Because we know we're going to get a sweeter, much superior taste from engaging in sankirtan than we would watching a stupid movie or going to some stupid sports, watching grown men kick a ball around and get excited. So we're detached, but it's not as if we are. You understand? It's not as if we're try to be detached. We just dive into the ocean of devotional service, and then naturally you're going to be detached. Naturally, knowledge is going to come. Naturally, you're going to wake up early. That's wake up early penance. Naturally, you're going to be inspired to follow the regular principles. It comes as a consequence. Yeah.
Our detachment is our attachment, basically.
Yeah, our detachment is manifest from attachment to Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you become naturally kind of
inclined.
You become uninterested. Just like a young child is kind of, a young child before they reach puberty, they're kind of naturally not interested in sex life because the body they have hasn't come to that stage. It's not as if they're trying not to be agitated, but they're just not. It's just not in their present physical body, They haven't reached that certain stage of life. So they're innocent. So the same way, this is we're progressing, but advanced devotees, devotees of the Lord, then they're naturally, they're not averse, they're not attached. They're just naturally just attached to Krishna. So therefore, of course, devotees are very humble as well. And they understand the dangers of the material world, so they don't take unnecessary chances, as well. But that's why, again, being a devotee is very, very exalted. From the universal perspective, they're the most exalted persons within the universe. Yeah, so exalted. Yeah. Anything else on this? It's quite philosophical, this part.
I'm thinking, does this mean for advanced devotees? They get the knowledge, but they're not proud about it. They use it. Comparing with them, devotees who doing kirtan.
Yeah, I
Them
mean,
would do it because they can do nicely. So knowledge, and you could misuse it like, oh, I know this. What I mean, some devotees can do things like that.
yeah, that's why it's mentioned. That's why, for instance, we have the Manashiksha, this book by Raghunath Das Goswami. So sadhakas, we have to be aware of the dangers, of the pitfalls. For instance, this spoke about also for us about there's a difference between unsteady bhakti, as we know. The book by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur highlights that, and also Prabhupada speaks of it. So as sadhakas, we are practitioners. We have to be on guard for the highwaymen who are going to rob our bhakti. The highwaymen of pride, for example. We should be on the lookout for it, and because there is a danger. Trangarangini is a stage as well where one is somewhat fixed in or somewhat practiced in a devotion, then respect and adoration might come, or different facilities might be offered. And if one, in the name of bhakti, they start to enjoy the facilities that come from bhakti, then that's deviation on the path. I think we discussed about this, isn't it, in Sudha Bhakti? It's like they're like weeds. It's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we have to keep the close association of pure devotees to help us cut the weeds of misunderstanding, or the weeds, the weeds of pride, or etc., pride, lust, in the name of bhakti. So I think to answer the question about Chandravali, yes. So we're not, we are trying to be like the residents of the garden.
Yeah, I was like one devotee, and brilliant. God has so much, lots of in the class as well, gives like slow. On the other hand, gets very upset so quickly.
Yeah.
If anybody hasn't offered flowers, or anybody, so it's well, you got the knowledge, the slokas.
Yeah, but our view.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
But our view of that devotee would be like he's in the process, and his faults shouldn't be magnified. What should be magnified is that he is a devotee. And we should understand that the process, well, we shouldn't fault him for that. He's in the process of becoming cleansed. Oh, my chair just dropped. So we may see that, and also we see that in others, and also we may see these things in ourselves as well. But the fact is that devotees are very exalted, and we should have, Is that the point you're making, or is it another point? I think.
I can say that. I was thinking, should we be more careful like that? I was thinking to myself,
We should be more careful.
More, when you've got knowledge, but be careful about how
I mean,
you speak.
Knowledge should make you humble. Knowledge should make you humble. Could you hear me? Yeah. It's just muting. Yeah. Do you remember there's the example of
I'm muting.
Sutta, what's that? Ramahashana Sutta. Was that the one? Ramahashana Sutta. He was very well versed in a lot of the angas of the Vedas, and he became proud, and he didn't give any respect to Balaram. So Balaram came to establish Dharma, same as Krishna. So here's someone. And that's where there's nice verses described there, that actually real knowledge means that you do become humble. You should become humble. So that's why it doesn't look right if someone's proud, then that means they don't actually have tangible realized wisdom.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
I was thinking, Prabhu, our conditioning goes there. You may be knowing slok everything, you might be educated, but our conditioning, we have that conditioning. Until we come out of that conditioning, how much ever we know, it won't help, isn't it, Prabhu?
Yeah, in other words, Prabhupada said one time, he said there was Kridananda Maharaj was quoting different slokas to Prabhupada, and he turned around to him and said, there's so many slokas. There's so many slokas. So becoming knowledgeable and knowing slokas
It's
is
not
not
the
the goal.
ultimate. Yeah, it's not the
It's not the goal. I mean, it's a devotional activity, and we should learn the scriptures and we should learn the slokas, but just it is not necessarily an indication. It may
Actually,
not be an indication that one is advanced. It may be in the case of someone who's a Uttam, then they have deep knowledge of the Shastra, and they've and they have assimilated the Shastra. So they're going to quote the Shastra just like Prabhupada would quote verses. So it can be a symptom as well, but also from another perspective, it can be just someone maybe materially, their karma is such that they can memorize and they can learn things. Whether they've got a taste for the holy name and a taste for Krishna, that's the sign of advancement, is that you got a taste for you got a taste for Krishna. Yes, sorry, Mother, carry on.
I was thinking, Prabhu, even you have the taste for the holy name, so only that holy name can clean you up, isn't it, Prabhu? Because and also because our conditioning is so attached to us, it's not easy to get away from that.
Yeah, so only the holy name can clean you up. Yeah, nice way of describing it. Yeah, also taking darshan of the deities cleans us up. Also going, doing all the activities of bhakti, shravanam, kirtanam, Vishnu, but especially the holy name. In this age, it's very, very therapeutically designed to clean us up.
But Prabhu, when Mother Chandravali was saying about just the incident, so I was thinking, how much ever you know, it doesn't matter, but how much you practice, it matters. Because unless you put that knowing shloka, this shloka is explaining this, am I this? So introspection comes there.
Yeah, we have to apply. That's the real, as we know, we have to apply what we have heard, being able to apply it. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Anything else here? Just checking the time. We've got 5 minutes. Let's have a look at. Perhaps I have a read of this one. My nose has cleared a little bit, so for a few seconds, so quick. By the mercy of the personality of Godhead, and by association with his devotees, sages who take pleasure in the self can give up their attachment to the impersonal supreme and enter the path of devotional service. All right, so by the mercy of Krishna and his devotees, such persons can take the bhakti. Commentary. Because bhakti is vastly superior to mukti, impersonalists who have actually realized the Lord's Brahman feature sometimes give up their meditation on the formless to engage in devotional service. In a prayer to Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.29.3, Sri Uddhava confirms that the swan-like men who are already liberated can make further progress by entering the path of devotional service. And just read the translation quote. Therefore, O lotus-eyed Lord of the universe, swan-like men happily take shelter of your lotus feet, the source of all transcendental ecstasy. But men who take pride in their accomplishments in yoga and karma fail to take shelter of you, and are defeated by your illusory energy. Unquote. How can impersonalists be elevated to the Lord's devotional service? Question. only by the mercy of the Lord, because the personality of Godhead is eager to display the greatness of his devotees and his devotional service. He sometimes blesses self-contented impersonalists by arranging opportunities for them to associate favorably with his devotees. Then the impersonalists, their discrimination refined by the influence of the devotees, can recognize just how insignificant is liberation. They then give up their hopes for liberation, give up all the trouble it entails, become attracted to the Supreme Lord's glories, and enter the path of Bhakti to serve the Lord in various ways. Okay, there's a wonderful example of this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the story of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He actually was a Mayavad, actually. I think he wasn't just an in-person. As far as I understand, I hope I've not got that wrong. I'm not making an offense. But anyway, he was an impersonalist. Let's just perhaps keep it there. He was a staunch impersonalist, and very much into moksha. So moksha will come if you do all your duties perfectly. There's so much according to the Vedic injunctions. And then there's that past time where after he got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya came in early in the morning, before he'd done his ablutions, his sacred bath, etc., and said his prayers, and he gave Sarvabhauma some Mahaprashadam from Jagannath, and he immediately took it and ate it. Okay, for us it doesn't sound like a big thing, but probably Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had never, probably in his whole life, dared to eat before he would do his morning duties and morning prayers. He'd never done it before, but spontaneously he took it from the Lord's hand, and in great joy he took the Mahaprasad, and Lord Chaitanya was very happy. So it signified quite a bit. Yeah. All right, 7 o'clock.
Prabhu,
Please,
I
yes.
have a question, Prabhu, not about this. Prabhu, Sankaracharya wrote the Jagannath Ashtakam. I sometimes wonder how that happened, Prabhu.
How what? Say the first part.
Sankaracharya,
Yeah.
he wrote the Jagannath Ashtakam.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Well, obviously, he's we know he's actually Lord Shiva, and he was on a special mission.
Yeah.
Also, he said Bhaja Govindam,
Yes.
you fall.
Yeah.
Also, he wrote a wonderful glorification of the Bhagavad Gita as well, which Prabhupada included in his Bhagavad Gita as it is. So actually, he's a hidden devotee. Yeah. So he's actually a devotee on a special mission for the Lord. So that's as much as I can say. That's why he wrote such a wonderful Ashtakam, glorifying Jagannath.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's stop there. Thank you, everyone. And next Monday I should be okay. Tuesday as well. I'll be traveling the end of next week. So anyway, I'll keep you informed. Hare Krishna. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope we managed. It's nice to pick this up. It's very enlivening to read and hear this Brhad Bhagavatamrta. Hare Krishna. Wish you a wonderful devotional weekend. Haribol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.